Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video it looks like I'm still discussing the Tory clown car crash as Suella Braverman published her anticipated letter yesterday evening, which contains some potentially very damaging information about Rishi Sunak if she is able to substantiate it. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So, do you know what? I can't keep up with all these shenanigans. I get a video uploaded and another Braverman bomb goes off. Part of me thinks should have just gone on holiday this week and made sense of it all at the weekend when the dust has settled. So many things coming out today. I'll try and get onto some of them later on, and then the rest will have to wait till tomorrow if she can stop doing things. But there is a certain interest in watching it all unfold a layer at a time. Mind you, I wouldn't mind them dialing down the drama a little bit. You know, can we stop with the drama for 5 seconds so I can comment on, actual policies? The media are claiming that Rishi Sunak's met one of his pledges today. No, he has not. But I'm going to have to wait till this evening to get onto that. But anyway, never mind. Popcorn at the ready. In terms of Braverman's letter, for those who haven't read it, I'll post in the description below. I could probably spend 2 hours going over my thoughts on each line, especially all the mad revision of Brexit facts and history. But I think I'll focus on 3 aspects of interest. The alleged pact, her upset that Sunak was not prepared to break the law and manifesto commitments, and her attempt to sound like a loyal Tory after such an incredibly damaging letter. My final video yesterday was about the options that Braverman's allies were considering, and it's not at all obvious to me how this letter furthers any of those options. So the first and main point, Braverman alleges that she accepted the position of Home Secretary on certain conditions. Now, whatever aspects of her letter are true, I'm going to say that what she's claiming here is not. It may be true there was a pact. In fact, I've no doubt there was, which I'll get onto on a moment. What is not true is that this formed her acceptance of the post of Home Secretary. She wanted to be Home Secretary. From her point of view, the pact was in return for her support for Sunak's leadership bid. Sunak 100% did not want her as Home Secretary. He accepted the proposal in return for becoming Prime Minister. Now, in hindsight, it could be argued that Sunak actually would have won the leadership contest without Braverman. It's credible that he could not have risked it at the time, however. Couldn't possibly have known. In terms of the alleged pact, Braverman, amongst other things, claims that Sunak agreed to allow her to break international law. She complains that he refused to do so. This is a really weird thing to accuse the leader of the so-called Party of Law and Order of doing, isn't it? How dare you respect the law, you fiend! Call yourself a conservative? I mean, if you take a step back and just consider the basic premise here, it's not. So, actual conservatives outside the parliamentary party, do they go along with this? I mean, we sort of know they don't because a clear majority, a large majority of even conservative voters think that Sunak was right to sack Braverman. So I suspect they don't go along with it, wanting their government to run roughshod over the law. I suspect that's not the case. The fact that Braverman included it in her letter suggests that she thinks there is scant respect for the law within the Conservative Party these days. Braverman also makes the claim that voters were promised that the Northern Ireland Protocol would be dropped. No, they were not. Voters were promised that it would be implemented and that it was part of a great oven-ready deal. And that's not a matter of speculation. The Northern Ireland Protocol had been published as part of the Brexit deal. It didn't come afterwards. And the Tory manifesto promised to implement their Brexit deal. There was no ambiguity. The fact that the manifesto lied about what was in the deal was neither here nor there. It was all published. So the pact that Sunak supposedly made with Braverman required the Tories to break international law, break their own manifesto promise, which also included breaking international law. At which point, you also wonder why Braverman didn't just resign. I mean, according to her claims, Sunak broke his pact with her many months ago. Well, why did she stick around to be sacked? But as for the claims, it could be genuinely very damaging for Sunak. As this video is published, it will be Prime Minister's questions. Now, being honest, this is another of those sessions where Keir Starmer would be entirely justified in getting up and saying, "Mr. Speaker, where do I bloody well start?" But it would not surprise me if he leaves David Cameron alone for now, along with the fact that the Tories voted down a measure which would have stopped them pulling a future Liz Truss mini-budget. and focused in on the allegations in Braverman's letter. I think he could probe this a little bit. And Sunak might need to be wary. We know that Rishi Sunak has told some fairly obvious lies in Parliament, but on this particular matter could be a bit dodgy if Braverman has proof. Starmer's already dispensed with one Tory leader by using his prosecution experience at the dispatch box. In fact, if Braverman is in possession of the proof, you would think, well, why hasn't she released it already? Well, maybe she thinks it makes sense to wait to see if Starmer makes Sunak squirm first and then releases it later today or tomorrow or something. It's also worth noting how a few legal experts have noted that Braverman seems to have divulged internal legal advice. This is not supposed to be made public. And certainly not on the whims of a lunatic seeking political revenge. It's just another example of how, even if what she's saying in the letter is true as she understands it, how unfit for office she is. And that is in comparison with what has been years of governments made up largely of people entirely unfit for office. I must also confess to being unclear about what exactly Braverman intends to happen at this point. The letter could have expressed general disagreement with the government's direction without going over the top in the way she did. It's fairly obvious that Braverman wants a different direction from the government. We know that. If that's the point she wanted to make, it was easy to do that without doing this. She published the letter the day after she was sacked, and her sacking was hardly a surprise. So she had time to consider her words. The reason she didn't release the letter on the day she was sacked is because she knew as soon as David Cameron was appointed that she would that would be on the front pages. So she wanted her headlines, so she waited an extra day, and now she's on the front page of every newspaper today. Much of the letter could easily have been written weeks or even months ago, really. It reads like an attempt at a starting pistol to some process, but what? As I discussed yesterday, she doesn't seem to have the support to arrange for a confidence vote. Definitely doesn't have the support to arrange for him to be deposed. Sunak, as I keep saying, has the power at hand, and now he's got more than enough justification to remove the whip, completely blocking her plans to become party leader, either before or after the election. Doesn't matter what happens. Braverman is obviously counting on the fact that Sunak is too spineless to do that. She's probably correct. Mind you, it will be political miscalculation of the century if she's wrong. As for anyone feeling inclined to feel a bit sorry for Sunak, I do not. Braverman is trying to remove our liberty. Sunak is trying to rob us blind. Not for the first time in recent weeks, I will say. It's not actually necessary to pick a side. It's possible to say that both sides are malevolent arseholes, screwing things up for everyone else. While the Tories continue their sarco-drama, the country has no effective government. It's not exactly been a viable government for quite some time, but this is completely dysfunctional. And if Sunak did agree to this alleged pact, which is a big if, unless and until Braverman publishes the proof, then he can make no claim to be possessed of any integrity on any level. But as I say, unless Braverman produces the proof, we cannot know that the pact ever existed. It's obvious that some agreement was reached. That's obvious, we know that. But I don't trust either of them to tell the truth about the details without proof. Mind you, interesting that Braverman says in her letter that she trusted Sunak, but also got him to write their agreement down. I trusted you. That's why I made you write it down. Also, on the idea that a Tory who flourished in the Boris Johnson government would actually say that she trusted another Tory who flourished in a Boris Johnson government marks her out as either a liar or an idiot. And after the bit about the pact, and then a page and a half of assorted word salad, Braverman then addressed the main problem with writing such a letter. Now, I've suggested that Braverman might want to exercise a little bit of subtlety. Clearly, I was wrong. But the idea is that it doesn't help her to be perceived as having a hand in the Tories' upcoming monumental defeat. I'd actually said, well, all she has to do is sort of lay low a little bit and, give the impression of being a bit aggrieved, but ultimately not upsetting the apple cart. And Sunak will lose the election really badly. She can say, well, of course he did. He did everything wrong. You should have done what I said. But now she's got a hand in it. People can say, well, actually, no, it wasn't the policies costing us the election. It was the disunity. It was the rebellions. It was people like you, Leaky Sue. She needs to appear to be the loyal, albeit disgruntled Tory, to appeal to both MPs and party members. I don't think the Tories bother to say, he who wields the sword shall never wear the crown anymore, not after Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. But attempts to destabilise the party still risk going down very badly with those whose support she will need in the future. So at the end, she tried to suggest that she would support the government on the proviso that it did exactly what she wanted it to do. Not sure that's very likely, given that the government just sacked her. Also a bit of a cheek to suggest that you might still support the government that you have just labelled as weak, dishonest and ineffective. At this point, I really don't know what the eventual impact of the letter will be. She must have some sort of plan, and she must have discussed it with allies. Mind you, as her allies include such intellectual giants as Lee Anderson, don't expect it to be well thought through. Rather than setting into motion a cunning plan, Braverman may just have released a firestorm that takes out the entire party. But I will still maintain my earlier position. Whether Braverman ultimately achieves her aims or not, she seems to be making it clear that she is still a loose cannon. Either Sunak boots her out of the party, the parliamentary party at least, or it just doesn't seem credible that his government can last beyond next spring if he wants it to. Sunak wants his Indian trade deal without even being at the agreement in principle stage. Time is running out. Can he maintain party stability long enough to get it? Or will Braverman find that she's actually got no real power within the party and that she's just kicking off for no reason? Just another banshee howling in the political wind, her platform largely gone the second she left government. Time will tell, popcorn acquired. But there we are, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.